Single mom brings her daughter to work. Millionaire show frozen by a surprising lesson revealed. Samantha stood before the towering glass behemoth of the tech firm, her heart racing and palms sweating. Today was supposed to be like any other day: wake up, rush Mia to school, then tackle her to-do list amidst the hum of office life. But today was different. Life seemed determined to thwart her carefully constructed routine. With no one to care for Mia, the decision was clear but terrifying. She would bring her daughter to work. As they stepped into the hive of corporate energy, Samantha's anxiety spiraled higher. The crisp air inside seemed void of warmth, just like her ambitious boss, Alex Thornton. His reputation for icy judgment was well known, and the mere thought of him encountering Mia made her stomach churn. She felt small, insignificant. Another cog in the relentless machine, forever working doubly hard for a modicum of acknowledgement that never came. Mia, however, seemed undeterred by her mother's tension. As they made their way to the elevator, her bright eyes widened at the sight of the busy reception area. "Mom, look at the screens. They must have like $1 million in tech gadgets." Samantha forced a smile, but her mind reeled. Would Alex notice if Mia's innocent curiosity distracted her from her responsibilities? Her brows knitted together as the elevator doors slid shut, trapping them in the metal box that felt like a cage. Could she bear the disappointment? Could she face the judgment? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they entered the grand conference room filled with figures that spoke percentages and growth, Samantha felt the weight of the world crash upon her chest. Would the critical, time-obsessed professionals accept her daughter's presence? Or would it hinder her already shaky standing? The walls felt suffocating as Alex entered, the air thickening with his presence. His meticulous reputation made even the strongest tremble. Mia was exploring, her little hands touching everything, completely unfazed by the corporate world's seriousness. It made Samantha anxious. Alex was not one to tolerate disruptions. But before long, Mia's inquisitive spirit burst forth in a moment of spontaneity. "Mr. Thornton?" Mia's voice rang out, cutting through the tension. "Did you know that in basketball, teamwork is super important? You have to pass the ball to win." All eyes turned to Alex. For a split second, shock overtook him. Samantha's breath hitched. Would he bark at her, or worse, reprimand Mia in front of everyone? But in that chamber of ambitious minds, a flicker of something warmer took root within Alex. His tightly bound expression began to soften as he processed not only Mia's words, but also a buried piece of his own humanity. Samantha's heart fell at that moment, caught in an agonizing juxtaposition of pride and fear. Would he wonder how far he had strayed from his own childhood? Would he see the reflection of his parents' sacrifices in Mia's innocence? As Alex turned his gaze from the boardroom table to the bright child standing before him, the air crackled with unasked questions that hung heavily above them all. What would come of this unexpected intrusion? Would Alex dare challenge the rigidity of his success-defined fortress? Mia's innocent remark hung in the air, the silence stretching uncomfortably as if time itself had paused. Alex's eyes flitted between the board members and the child who dared to break the corporate barrier. A moment ago, Samantha felt herself shrinking under the scrutiny, yet now she found herself instinctively standing taller, her heart racing with the hope that maybe, just maybe, this moment could redefine more than just a day at work. Alex blinked, seemingly grappling with a flooded recollection of his own childhood. "Teamwork," he finally echoed, his voice surprisingly measured, revealing the slightest crack in his stoic facade. The boardroom shifted, the suit-clad figures returning their gazes to their tables and laptops, their collective interest piqued by this unexpected pivot. As mundane discussions faded into the background, Samantha sensed a newfound tension in the room. This could become a softening moment, a human bond illuminated in an otherwise sterile environment. Mia, basking in the limelight, took another bite of her pecan pastry unperturbed. Samantha's heart swelled with a peculiar mix of pride and embarrassment. This was not how she had envisioned a day at work, a day filled with quarterly reports rather than spontaneous lessons in leadership. But as Mia glanced around, brushing crumbs from her hands, Samantha recognized that perhaps her daughter was more equipped for this world than she believed. Alex, collecting himself, adjusted his suit jacket, pondering something deeper than just business. Yes, absolutely. To succeed, we need to support and rely on each other, just like in basketball. This revelation was strange. His voice carried an authority that made the sentiment seem profound, yet there it was, offered by the simplest of voices. Samantha felt a shift within herself, an internal recognition that went beyond mere survival. It was as if the universe was affirming her place, her worthiness. Perhaps her circumstances didn't define her, nor did a judgmental boss. Instead, they could weave together moments of clarity and connection. She thought of the long nights spent working on projects while Mia slept nearby, the sacrifices hidden within the mundane routines. She had climbed through the ranks despite the odds, fueled by resilience. Was it possible Alex saw a reflection of her struggle in Mia's uninhibited words? As the meeting progressed, Samantha felt a renewed sense of purpose bubbling within her, pushing aside prior doubts. In the midst of spreadsheets and slides, there was potential. Teamwork wasn't just a buzzword. It was the very essence of moving forward. Encouraged by Mia's earlier proclamation, Samantha found the courage to lean into discussions, contributing suggestions and insights that had been overshadowed by self-doubt. Surprisingly, the room began to respond by the end of the meeting. As participants wrapped up their notes, signs of engagement stirred among them. Alex's gaze met Samantha's, the ice between them thawing just a fraction. I think we could benefit from a more collaborative approach in our projects, one that leans into individual strengths. We aren't just employees, we're a team. His eyes lingered, and Samantha understood this statement reached beyond the immediate conversation. It signaled a potential change in dynamic, not only within the office but within herself as well. As the delegates began to leave, excitement curled in her belly. This wasn't merely about today or her job. It was a bridge to a more promising future for Mia, where her mother's ambition could intertwine with lessons learned on the basketball court of dependability and team spirit. Yet as they exited the meeting room, the optimistic haze was swiftly shattered when Alex called out to her, his voice steady but commanding. Samantha, I need to talk to you about your performance review. The weight of those words hung heavy, reminding her of the corporate pressures she had feared all along. Would her newfound confidence quell her anxiety, or would this encounter push her back into the shadows? Samantha's feet felt rooted to the floor, her mind racing as she turned back to Alex. The weight of his words washed over her, dragging her beneath a tide of anxiety. What would he say? Would he acknowledge her contributions? Or would he list her shortcomings like a tally of failures? The prospect of her performance review loomed like a shadow over the possibilities she had only just begun to recognize. As the rest of the board trickled out, she felt the walls closing in, the air thick with unspoken assessments. For the first time, the very office she had fought so hard to conquer felt suffocating, a stark contrast to the clarity that Mia had brought into that meeting. I think I've overlooked some of your strengths in the past, Alex stated, interrupting her torrid thoughts, his tone both serious and contemplative. Samantha's heart fluttered. Did he just acknowledge the struggle she faced? She took a breath, steadying herself. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. He leaned against the table, studying her with an intensity that made her acutely aware of her breath. It's not just about performance metrics anymore. After today, I see the potential for something more. The way you contributed despite the nerves in that room. His voice trailed off as if he was gathering weighty thoughts, but she sensed a pivotal moment brewing. Are you saying I have potential for leadership? She asked, pushing for clarity, unwilling to let this slip away unnoticed. I'm saying that your insights matter, and fostering an environment where everyone feels empowered to speak up is crucial, he replied, locking onto her gaze. Today was a turning point. You need to start viewing your contributions through that lens. His words ignited something within her. She had worked tirelessly to find her voice in meetings that often drowned out the quieter members, and now it was being recognized. This recognition was transformative, pulling at the threads of her self-image, urging a much-needed shift from the shadows of self-doubt toward the light of possibility. Can we focus on transforming team dynamics? I believe we could make some significant changes in how our teams collaborate, Samantha proposed, her words coming freely now, bolstered by the momentum from their shared insight. Alex nodded thoughtfully. Yes, I believe we can. But it'll require you stepping into a more visible role. Are you ready for that? His question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Could she navigate the complexities of leadership while balancing her responsibilities as a mother? It felt like a double-edged sword, the stakes higher than ever. Watching Mia's fearless confidence, she imagined what an empowered version of herself could achieve not just at work, but as a role model for her daughter. Yes, I'm ready, she declared, surprising even herself with the strength of her conviction. The corners of Alex's mouth lifted slightly, a flicker of approval, perhaps? Great. We'll work on developing a strategy together. You have much to offer, and it's time we harness that. Determination surged through Samantha as the conversation sparked ideas and ambitions previously locked away. This small affirmation of potential nudged her into the orbit of accountability. The possibility of collaboration loomed large against the backdrop of her concerns. As they wrapped up, she felt lighter, her path forward beginning to clarify. But as she turned to leave, there it was again, that slight gnaw at her gut. It was her past, those lingering fears that had long held her back. Would that doubt resurface during this new opportunity? Just then, Alex called after her, the warmth in his voice softer than before. Samantha, this is just the beginning. But remember, leading requires more than skill, it requires vulnerability too. Are you ready to embrace that? His gaze bore into her, forcing her to confront the unflinching truth. Leadership was not just about authority. It was about authenticity, too. With the stakes higher than ever, she had to decide, could she confront her vulnerabilities head-on, or would fear hold her hostage once again? And as she stood on the precipice of change, the path forward suddenly felt treacherous yet exhilarating. What would she choose? The next morning felt surreal as Samantha arrived at the office, a blend of excitement and anxiety fueling her steps. With each stride, determination replaced the remnants of uncertainty from the previous day. She had committed herself to embracing her potential. Alex's words echoed in her mind, the weight of leadership now a palpable force she had never envisioned would be a part of her trajectory. She arrived at her desk, strategically positioned among her colleagues, and wasted no time. Today she was armed with ideas and a new vision for her team's dynamic, ready to share her perspectives openly. As she settled in, she gathered her scattered thoughts, mentally arranging the framework of her proposed changes. It wasn't long before the atmosphere buzzed around her with familiar chatter. Other team members trickled in, and she noticed the way they exchanged welcomes and casual banter. Among them, Jake, a bright analyst known for his innovative findings, approached her with his typical enthusiasm. Samantha, did I hear you're going to lead the initiative on team collaboration? His excitement was contagious, and she felt a flicker of pride at being seen as a leader already. Yes, I'm planning a brainstorming session. Would you like to join? I think your input could be invaluable, she replied, surprising herself with the confidence it took to invite collaboration. The two set off to draft an agenda, and as they worked, Samantha felt her approach gradually shifting. Instead of being hesitant, she was asserting the importance of all voices within the group. However, beneath her newfound resolve, there lurked a whisper of doubt. Was she really prepared to embrace vulnerability as Alex suggested? The thought gnawed at her as she made notes about encouraging open feedback. She had some experience in speaking passionately about ideas, yet sharing her uncertainties felt like a different ballgame altogether. Lunch arrived with renewed energy. Rather than retreat to her desk, an opportunity to deepen connections arose when she suggested a lunch gathering to her colleagues. Her invitation caught them off guard, but no one declined, and soon they were all gathered around a table. The atmosphere felt electric, laughter and chatter flowing freely as discussions transitioned from work to personal insights. Samantha marveled at how deeply her team connected. Mia's image lit her mind. The confidence radiating from her daughter fueled Samantha's desire to embody a role model. Did you ever think about how the biggest breakthroughs come from failures? Jake chimed in, breaking through her thoughts. His words stirred something in Samantha. If she could empower her team to view setbacks as growth opportunities, perhaps that was a step toward not just developing their collaborative spirit, but also confronting her own vulnerabilities. She spoke up, tapping into a part of her that yearned to share her story. When I first started at the company, I was terrified of speaking up in meetings. It took years for me to realize that embracing failure is part of growth. A silence, caught off guard, settled around the table before it ignited into supportive dialogue, revealing the insecurities beneath their professional veneers. Relaying her experience unveiled their shared vulnerability. As they opened up, she realized this was what leadership meant: a willingness to connect through honesty and authenticity. By the time they wrapped up, a new sense of camaraderie had formed. As they returned to their desks, Samantha's heart raced with possibilities of how they might transform their work environment. Yet as she prepared for the day's end, a nagging thought persisted. Would she be able to maintain this momentum? What if confrontation with her fears became inevitable as the project advanced? The precarious balance of being a team leader and a mother remained a solemn question in her mind. Just as she grabbed her bag, a message buzzed on her phone. It was from Alex, requesting a meeting about a special initiative. The air thickened with intrigue. What could this involve, and how might it change her trajectory further? Was her nascent leadership ready for the stakes he was about to unveil? Samantha arrived at the conference room, her heart pounding in anticipation of her meeting with Alex. The modern office space, with its sleek design and glass walls, only amplified the intensity of her nerves. She found herself questioning her own readiness. The unexpected nature of his request loomed over her like a heavy cloud. Was she prepared for whatever revelations awaited her? As she entered, she noticed Alex standing by the window, hands clasped behind his back, looking over the city. His demeanor was calm and collected. Familiarity hung in the air, but she felt a chasm of uncertainty between them. He turned as she stepped in, and a welcoming smile broke his serious expression. "Thanks for coming, Samantha," he said, motioning for her to sit across from him. Tentatively, she settled into the chair and folded her hands in her lap, a gesture that echoed her need for comfort despite the underlying anxiety. "Of course, Alex. You mentioned a special initiative?" Alex leaned back, the sunlight catching the edge of his crisp suit jacket. "I'd like to talk about mentorship, specifically how we can leverage our teams to cultivate future leaders. I think you could play a pivotal role." Samantha shifted in her seat, feeling both flattered and slightly intimidated. "Mentorship? I'm not sure how I measure up for that just yet." "You underestimate yourself," he countered, leaning forward earnestly. "You've shown the ability to connect with your team in a way that brings out their best. They see you as a leader. Don't let your doubts cloud that reality." His words stirred a mix of feelings in her. She remembered Jake's enthusiastic involvement in the project, and the trust her colleagues had placed in her. After she shared her own vulnerabilities during lunch. Yet, could she extend her own experiences to guide others effectively? The lingering self-doubt pushed against the budding confidence she had been cultivating. "Tell me," Alex continued, "what is holding you back from believing you can step into a mentorship role?" Biting her lip, Samantha wrestled with her instincts. The facade of confidence threatened to slip as the truth bubbled beneath the surface. "I guess it feels too soon. I'm still figuring it all out. Balancing work and being a single mom feels daunting at times, and I'm scared of not meeting expectations, both mine and those of others." Vulnerability is a critical element in mentorship. It humanizes the experience, making you relatable, Alex replied, his voice steady. "You have a unique perspective that can inspire others. You're not alone in your struggles, nor are you expected to have all the answers. It's about sharing the journey." His advice struck a chord deep within her. Samantha began to envision a framework where she could share lessons learned, failures faced, and the resilience that she had developed as a mother and a professional. The prospect of forging pathways for others intrigued her. Still, a daunting question swirled in her mind. Could she truly embrace the role of a mentor if she felt unsteady herself? As they continued discussing ideas, Samantha sensed the potential for personal growth intertwined with the professional realm. Each suggestion she offered felt like a small victory, a step away from self-doubt. When the meeting concluded, Samantha rose with determination. For the first time, she didn't feel the weight of her apprehensions. Instead, they became the foundation upon which she could build a new narrative of leadership. She understood that the courage to guide others would also require her to face her fears head-on. Walking back to her desk, she contemplated the implications of being a mentor. It wasn't only about guiding others. It was about crafting a meaningful dialogue that could evolve into authentic connections. Would she have the strength to delve into her past failures while simultaneously nurturing her team's growth? Just as she settled back into her workspace, a photograph of Mia on her desk caught her attention. A smile crept across her face, fueled by the hope that she could embody the role model Mia needed. But would she have the courage to take that step? Before she could unravel that thought further, an email notification pinged on her screen, a message from HR regarding a leadership retreat. Her heart raced at the possibilities this opportunity represented, and what it might entail. The moment of truth seemed to approach swiftly. Would she seize the moment to delve deeper into leadership, or would fear stagnate her growth? Samantha stared at her computer screen, the email from HR glowing like a beacon. The leadership retreat was fast approaching, and her response needed to be decisive. She leaned back in her chair, taking a deep breath to calm the swirling thoughts in her mind. This wasn't just about a professional opportunity. It was about stepping into a role she had long avoided. As a single mother, she had been molded by constant adaptations, bouncing between home and work, each day an exercise in juggling priorities. Yet, here was a chance to channel all of her experiences into something more significant. The prospect of attending the retreat ignited a spark of ambition within her, yet doubt quickly clouded her excitement. What would the other participants think of her? Would she truly belong among seasoned leaders? Cracking her knuckles, she opened the email draft. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard, uncertainty gnawing as she tried to articulate her thoughts. Then she recalled her meeting with Alex, the way he emphasized authenticity and leadership, how vulnerability could become a bridge to connection. They were words that began to dissolve the fear that had built walls around her ambition. Typing cautiously at first, she began to outline her intention to attend the retreat, choosing her words with both enthusiasm and trepidation. This would be a commitment to herself, a declaration that she was ready to explore the mentorship role Alex had envisioned. With a click, she hit send, her heart racing. The decision had been made. She was moving forward. But what did forward mean? Later that evening at home, she found Mia sprawled across the living room floor, deep into a coloring book world. The sight brought warmth to Samantha's chest. Over the years, she had ingrained in her daughter the importance of resilience and courage. It felt like an oxymoron that she who had preached the values of strength let self-doubt paralyze her. "Mama?" Mia looked up, her innocent eyes curious. "Are you happy?" Samantha knelt beside her, slightly taken aback by the question. It was simple yet profound. "I hope to be soon, sweetie. I'm learning how to be even better." "Better at what?" Mia inquired, her small finger tracing the lines of her drawing. "Better at helping others," Samantha replied, the words surprising her as they formed. "Like being a mentor." Mia nodded as if she understood the weight of the term in a way only a child could. "Can I help? I can be a mentor too." The response landed hard, but in a good way. Mia's innocence brought clarity to Samantha's thoughts. If her daughter could embrace a mentorship role with such exuberance, was it too much to imagine that she could also? That night, as Samantha lay in bed, her mind flickered between anticipation and nervousness, revealing a truth once concealed beneath layers of fear. It wasn't the fear of not being ready, it was the fear of letting go of the safe zone she inhabited. As days passed, preparation for the retreat became a focal point. Samantha immersed herself in research, practiced her ideas in front of the mirror, and bravely shared her aspirations with colleagues. The more she engaged with the world around her, the more she noticed shifts within herself. With each day, that initial self-doubt began to transform into a growing determination. Yet, the retreat promised to challenge her newly risen confidence. On the morning of departure, as she scrambled to gather her things, an unexpected message from Alex popped up on her phone. "Looking forward to seeing how you grow at the retreat. We'll discuss some mentorship strategies there." Her heart raced again, buoyed by support but weighted with the burden of expectation. Would she be able to implement mentorship effectively? What strategies did she even possess that could offer value to others? Taking a deep breath, she clutched her bag tightly. She was stepping into unknown territory, but wasn't that where growth thrived? The choices she faced were certainly not exclusive to the office. A reckoning awaited her beyond work commitments as well. The car ride to the retreat was punctuated by tension. How would she integrate into a group of perceived professionals, especially with the weight of her fears lurking behind every interaction. As they arrived at the venue, an imposing hotel where the retreat would be held, she felt her nerves rise again but also a flicker of excitement. Just then she heard someone call her name, turning to see Alex walking toward her. "Ready to dive in?" he asked with a grin that seemed to draw her out of her head and back to the moment. Could she embrace the plunge this time? Would she sink or swim when forced to confront her ability to lead? The moment of truth beckoned. The conference room buzzed with energy as participants began to settle in, each engaging in quiet conversations and sharing tentative smiles. Samantha stood at the back, her heart racing. Was she out of her league? The walls felt like they were closing in, and for a brief moment, she contemplated slipping away. But then she spotted Alex, animatedly addressing a small group, and her resolve reaffirmed itself. Taking a deep breath, she straightened her shoulders and pushed forward, reminding herself that she had decided to be here. Growth meant discomfort, didn't it? She needed this opportunity to prove herself both to her peers and to Mia. As the opening remarks began, Samantha found her place among the participants, her eyes darting from one speaker to another. The agenda flowed from inspirational talks to workshops designed to provoke innovative thinking. Each session was crafted to challenge their perspectives, pushing them to reconsider their roles not only as employees but as leaders. After the keynote, the group split into smaller breakout sessions. Samantha found herself in a group assigned to discuss the qualities of effective mentorship. Several voices chimed in, discussing traditional traits like confidence, wisdom, and guidance. As her colleagues shared their experiences, Samantha felt the familiar tug of doubt whispering accusations. Who are you to contribute? But as she listened, a flicker of clarity emerged. They were all searching for the same truths within their leadership journeys, grappling with the same uncertainties. When it came to her turn, the words fell from her lips with surprising conviction. I think mentorship isn't just about offering guidance but about facilitating growth both for the mentor and the mentee. The room quieted, heads acknowledging her insight. The moment surprised her. Where had that confidence come from? It felt liberating. Later, when the group transitioned into discussions about actionable mentorship strategies, Samantha experienced a surge of adrenaline. This was a chance to contribute, to shape her journey beyond the overwhelming responsibilities of daily life. As ideas flew around the table, she found herself suggesting a support group for first-time mentors, fostering a space where new leaders could share their vulnerabilities and lessons learned. The buzz of excitement was palpable, but so was the challenge of letting go of her previous constraints. Would she believe in her own capacity to lead this initiative? After hours of deep discussions and case study analyses, the workshop wrapped up with team presentations. Her thoughts collided as she prepared to speak, the weight of expectation merging with the sense of community. What if the team felt her contributions were irrelevant? Yet, as Samantha stood before her peers, a calming realization washed over her. She was embodying her own teachings. Her aim was to empower others through shared experiences, just as she had with Mia. By daring to be vulnerable, perhaps she could inspire those around her to trust in their capabilities as well. The presentation concluded, and an unexpected applause erupted. Her colleagues acknowledged not just her ideas but also her commitment to elevating others. The sensation was exhilarating. She was inhabiting her future, even if it still felt like a draft rather than a finished manuscript. As the day drew to a close, Alex approached her. You did well today, Samantha. Your group really appreciated your insights. I think you're beginning to tap into something transformative. Her heart swelled with pride, but beneath that warmth lay the question of how she would maintain this momentum. She couldn't return to the safety of the past. On the way back to her room, Samantha paused to look out at the sunset splashed across the horizon. There it was, a moment of reflection, a world of possibilities framed in golden light. The experience had uncovered hidden competencies she hadn't acknowledged. She felt the courage to take risks in her own professional development. Still, as thoughts of returning home loomed, she couldn't shake off the tensions that accompanied her newfound resilience. Would she have the strength to sustain this growth when she was back in her familiar environment, in the role of a single mother? As she prepared for bed, Samantha once again thought of Mia and of the promises she had made to herself. The line between her work and home felt blurrier now. Her dual roles began to intertwine in unexpected ways. Could she extend her mentorship beyond the conference, creating a new narrative for both her and her daughter? The thought lingered as she drifted into sleep, an unresolved question waiting to unfold. The next morning would bring new challenges, and she was determined to embrace each one. But first, she needed to confront the resistance that awaited her at home. The very ideals she wanted to nurture in Mia could lead to moments of doubt in herself. What lessons would she impart to her daughter when the real work began? The echoes of yesterday's revelations felt both thrilling and daunting. And as the sun rose, the horizon held more than just a new day. It opened a path to a more profound discovery of herself on this unexpected journey. Samantha awoke to the soft light of morning filtering through her window, filling her space with warmth but also a sense of urgency. Today she would face the reality of integrating her newfound confidence into her daily life. It seemed almost easier to be invigorated by the conference, surrounded by supportive peers, than to implement change amidst her pre-existing routines. Mia was already awake, drawing pictures on the living room floor. Her laughter echoed as she excitedly exclaimed how she wanted to be an astronaut. Samantha smiled, warmed by her daughter's zeal. But even that joy came tinged with anxiety. The gap between her aspirations and her failures was growing clearer, a chasm she felt compelled to bridge. As they shared breakfast, Samantha's thoughts raced ahead to the busy day at work. She needed to be proactive, spearheading her ideas about mentorship and extending that initiative to her colleagues. Her heart pounded with apprehension at the thought of dissenters, those who might dismiss her thoughts as naive, especially coming from someone with a part-time schedule. Could she break the mold and assert herself as both a professional and a mother? In the office, her surroundings felt both familiar and foreign. The sterile brightness of her workspace felt heavy, laden with doubts yet also the promise of growth. She took a deep breath before stepping through the door. A small, stubborn part of her wanted to retreat, but she fought it down, focusing instead on her commitment to instigate change. She began her day by organizing a small impromptu meeting with her team. They gathered around the conference table, her colleagues exchanging glances, some curious, others skeptical. As she articulated the idea for a support group for new mentors, she noticed a mix of expressions. Curiosity lingered alongside concern. Could someone like her, who had barely navigated her own career's intricacies, lead others? "Look, I know we're all busy," she started, her voice wavering at first but slowly finding steadiness. "But mentorship is crucial, especially in a demanding field. We need a space to support each other through our journeys." A sliver of doubt crept in. Her constituents could easily tear her proposal apart. But the momentum she had gained in the last few days pushed her forward. "I believe we can create an environment where we exchange knowledge, failures, and triumphs. We owe it to each other, don't we?" The response was a gradual ripple of nods, and she felt something shift, a solidarity slowly manifesting amongst them. But then a colleague raised a hand. "Samantha, this sounds great, but don't you think it might be too optimistic? We're already swamped with our work." Stung by the point but realizing she had provoked a conversation, she prepared her retort. "I understand, but isn't part of our job to invest in our own future? We're not just cogs in a machine. We are capable of fostering innovation and growth." The dialogue shifted from resistance to engagement. Colleagues began contributing ideas, revealing their own vulnerabilities and experiences tied to mentorship. As the meeting ended, Samantha felt invigorated yet unsettled. She had faced her fear of judgment and instead fostered a sense of community. This was a pivotal moment, but would it hold once the thrill of the meeting faded? Later that evening, she sat with Mia again. The girl was bubbling with tales of what she wanted to be when she grew up, sharing her determination and childlike exuberance. It reminded Samantha of the spark she had briefly lit in the meeting. She knew she needed to carry that spark beyond the walls of the office to embody that conviction in all aspects of her life, right down to her interactions with Mia. "Mama, can you help me build a rocket?" Mia asked, her eyes wide with excitement. It hit Samantha then this wasn't just about being the mother who worked, it was about being the mother who inspired, who mentored. Gathering construction paper and crayons, they began sketching ideas together. The challenge of not just being present but being a guiding force was grueling yet exhilarating. Could they launch ideas together, effortlessly intersecting dreams with reality? Just as they began to glue their collage together, Samantha's phone buzzed. An email notification from her supervisor hinted at a review meeting for her proposal, and that familiar wave of panic returned. What if the support she felt in that meeting evaporated under scrutiny? As doubt surged, she glanced at Mia, whose inquisitive face mirrored her own internal questions. Could she propel herself into this new role? Not only as an employee but a mother who instilled the values she desperately wanted to model? With the stakes rising, Samantha prepared to solidify her commitment to fostering both her career and her daughter's aspirations. Tomorrow would bring her closer to her review, but it would also demand a reckoning with the deep-seated fears that threatened to undermine her growth. Would she allow those fears to keep her grounded, or would she soar to unexpected heights alongside Mia? Anxious anticipation filled Samantha as dawn approached, casting a soft glow across her bedroom walls. Today was not merely another day at work. It held the weight of her ambitions and fears, and an unsettling knot formed in her stomach. She envisioned the review meeting awaiting her, a stark contrast to her daughter's innocent curiosity about building rockets. One demanded performance in front of skeptics, while the other inspired boundless imagination. Would she bring the same creative energy to her workplace that Mia brought to her drawings? As she dressed for the day, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. There was a fierceness in her eyes, a newfound reflection of the woman she aspired to become. Yet, doubt seeped in like an unwelcome guest. What if her colleagues viewed her ideas as mere fantasies? What if the pitch to extend mentorship programs lacked validation? With Mia's excited chatter in the background, Samantha found solace in her daughter's enthusiasm. "Should I wear the blue blazer or the green one, sweetie?" she asked, seeking a sense of normality amid her inner turmoil. "The blue one. You'll look important," Mia replied with unbridled joy. The simplicity of Mia's response struck a chord, grounding Samantha in the present. She realized that being important wasn't solely about attire, it was about confidence and conviction, about standing firm in her beliefs amidst the noise of doubt. Arriving at the office, the familiar sterile environment appeared both intimidating and emblematic of her challenges. The usual chatter was replaced by a palpable tension as colleagues anticipated her presentation. Taking a moment to collect her thoughts, Samantha leaned against her desk, absorbing the energy around her. She had transformed from the woman who once doubted her presence in the workplace to one who was ready to claim her space. The conference room was set, and as she entered, a wave of silence washed over the group. As her supervisor began the meeting, a bead of sweat trickled down her back. Would they see the value in her vision, or as her colleague had suggested, was she being overly optimistic? Samantha took a deep breath and projected her voice, both steady and clear. "Thank you all for being here. I've put together a foundation for a mentorship program that empowers new and existing staff to collaborate actively. It's more than just sharing knowledge, it's about fostering growth and resilience." Midway through her presentation, she noticed a few skeptical expressions flicker like shadows across their faces. But instead of retreating, she leaned into her narrative, weaving personal stories and scientific data to illustrate her points. Her heart raced as she recounted her own struggles and triumphs, her voice gaining momentum. The room shifted. Energy surged as the conversation transformed from passive listening to active engagement. "Mentorship can elevate our organization. Imagine the innovations we could unlock by investing in each other," she urged, feeling a sense of agency wash over her. However, when her supervisor interjected with a stern voice, "But Samantha, some might argue we can't afford to allocate time and resources while we're all already stretched thin." For a fleeting moment, Samantha felt the familiar weight of impending defeat settle over her. But Mia's face flashed in her mind, her daughter's unwavering belief in her dreams. Drawing strength from that vision, Samantha steadied herself. "Isn't that exactly why we need this program? To alleviate burdens and empower each other? We should not view mentoring as an extra weight, but as a vital resource." The room fell silent, and she could sense the shift. Colleagues began murmuring their support, echoing thoughts she had planted, their shift in recognition offering the validation she so desperately craved. Later that day, as she returned home, Samantha felt transformed. There was lightness in her step. She had navigated the scrutiny and emerged resilient. But lurking beneath that exhilaration lay a flicker of fear. What if this was only the beginning of a battle against those resistant to change, those who sought to undermine her newfound voice? That evening, sitting beside Mia, Samantha felt an urgency to harness this momentum in a way that transcended her work life. To develop her own mentorship approach within her home, modeling the values she wanted to impart upon her daughter. Could she cultivate an environment where dreams fueled courage instead of doubt? Mia interjected her thoughts, asking, "Mama, when we build our rocket, will it fly?" Samantha smiled, realizing now that her journey mirrored the aspirations she shared with her daughter. "Yes, Mia, it will fly. And we're going to make it happen together." But as they started populating their blueprints with further detail, an email notification pierced the moment, an invitation for a follow-up meeting to now consider her proposal, set for the following week. An opportunity or a reckoning loomed ahead. Would she harness her momentum? Or would the weight of resistance pull her down again? The next week brought a mix of anticipation and anxiety, as Samantha prepared for the follow-up meeting regarding her mentorship proposal. Throughout her days at work, she had been reflecting deeply on her vision, shaping it into a unified framework. This moment felt crucial, her chance to solidify her voice and professional aspirations, while connecting them with her role as a mother. Arriving at the office, she noticed a subtle shift in her colleagues' demeanor. Conversations she overheard were tinged with respect, even curiosity and unexpected validation she hadn't anticipated. As she settled into the conference room, the atmosphere buzzed with a renewed energy, one she had helped to cultivate. The challenge of her proposal felt less like a solitary climb and more like an invitation to join her peers on a shared journey. When it was time for her to speak, she took a deep breath, recalling the encouragement from Mia and the support of her colleagues. "Thank you all again for coming," she began, her voice unwavering. "I believe this mentorship initiative is about fostering true collaboration, where everyone feels valued, including the quieter voices. Together we can transform our workplace culture." With each word, she shared insights and data, but she also wove in personal anecdotes, her struggles, triumphs, and the lessons Mia had unknowingly taught her about resilience, teamwork, and the importance of nurturing each other's growth. As Samantha spoke, she could see nods of agreement and interest. Each point she presented resonated with the human desire for connection and support. Gone was the anxious employee yearning for acknowledgement. She had transformed into a confident advocate for change, her sincerity shining through. Midway through her presentation, one of the more skeptical colleagues, Mark, interrupted. "This all sounds promising, but how do we implement this without overwhelming ourselves further? We already have too much on our plates." Samantha had anticipated skepticism. It was a natural part of introducing change. Rather than falter, she leaned in with confidence. "I understand the workload concern. However, I propose we take small, intentional steps, starting with monthly meetings to share experiences, successes, and failures in an open forum. By allowing ourselves to connect, we can reduce stress and increase mutual support." Mark looked thoughtful, and for the first time Samantha sensed a shift in his body language. That might actually be beneficial. A space to share might help alleviate some of that pressure. With newfound momentum, the discussion evolved, revealing that many of her colleagues shared the same apprehensions about mentorship, feeling isolated despite working in a bustling environment. They engaged more openly now, contributing ideas and advocating for their own experiences. At the end of the meeting, as her proposal was met with enthusiastic applause, Samantha felt a flood of emotions: the days of self-doubt, the yearning for recognition, and now this acceptance. She could sense their willingness to join her vision for a collaborative mentorship culture. For the first time, she didn't just feel seen. She felt valued. Alex approached her afterward, reflecting a look of pride. "You did an impressive job today, Samantha. I believe this can genuinely lead to something transformative. Your authenticity engaged everyone." "Thank you, Alex. Your support gave me the push I needed," she replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. As she left the office, her spirit soared. This was no longer just about climbing the corporate ladder, but cultivating a community that recognized the potential in each individual. That night at home, as she sat with Mia, recounting the day, she realized her work and her role as a mother were intertwined. "We did it, Mia. People are excited about mentorship. See, Mama? You were meant to be a leader," Mia exclaimed, her eyes dancing with delight. And it clicked for Samantha in that moment that leadership was not only about guiding others, it was about inspiring hope, about building a space where everyone could thrive together. Week after week, as the initiative gained traction, Samantha also witnessed her own growth as a mother. The resilience she cultivated professionally began to bleed into her home life. With Mia, She fostered an environment of creativity and ambition, encouraging her daughter to voice her visions and dreams without hesitation. As the months passed, Samantha's newfound confidence solidified into a portfolio of accomplishments, a mentorship program implemented, a supportive team dynamic fostered, and a relationship with Mia blossoming beneath the umbrella of shared aspirations. One evening, as they sat together working on Mia's school project, Samantha realized she had finally become the role model she had envisioned. Growth and change were not just about professional milestones. They were deeply intertwined in every aspect of her life. With Mia next to her, sketching plans for a potential rocket built from paper and dreams, Samantha smiled, her heart full. She had conquered her fears and emerged not just as a respected leader, but as an empowered mother who lived the values of resilience, teamwork, and support she had always wished to impart. This was her path, embracing uncertainties, celebrating victories, and inspiring her daughter to soar fearlessly. Today was not just another day at work or home. It was the beginning of something meaningful, a legacy mingled with confidence blooming from within. You need to subscribe now to this channel to witness more powerful emotional stories. Leave a like now to help fuel the algorithm and share this journey of personal growth. Comment below to express your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this inspiring ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformative tale.